Welcome back, everybody, to the sixth and final part of our year-in review. Our end-of-the-year awards are already done with the best and the worst of WWE and AEW, but we're going to tack this on here because this is kind of a part of it. And instead of doing a separate video, because, why bother to do that? We're just going to keep this kind of rolling. And we used to have this as part of the quote-unquote awards, but we're rebranding it a little bit this year. It is the 2021 year-in review of Smark Out Moment itself, because there are still things that people voted on for, some of their best and worst kind of deals. It's not quite the same as what we used to have because we've gotten rid of a lot of the things, so we don't have, as it was back in the day, the best and the worst outro, the best and the worst did you know joke, all those kind of things. We've been whittling down a lot of these things over time, and now it's just really kind of transitioning to, let's talk about the year. Not the year in wrestling, the year in us. We did actually, on top of that too, talk a lot about that with the 10-year anniversary and everything. So we're not going to hit the same discussion points. Obviously, we've talked about how much fun that things are and, the people along the way and all that. Go back and check out 2 different episodes worth of that discussion if you want to hear that. But we're going to focus a little bit more just on 2021 in Smark Out Moment. And the feedback questionnaire, the survey that I had put out there for people to respond on. And even if you didn't respond in time to be factored into this, I still want you to leave your responses on there. So I'm going to leave this open. And if you just for some reason didn't know that this was a thing, go ahead and click on it now. It's up on the page. It's on smarkoutmoment.com. You can find it on the sidebar. Vote. It's actually very interesting to see the responses, and it helps out quite a bit. So, let's go statistics about some of these things, because that's one of the topics that's kind of, all right, here's just a bunch of numbers, we had positives when it came to, of course, gaining more subscribers this year. And, we're at a point now where the website's gotten almost 26 million views. Not this year. That would be fucking fantastic if that would have been this year. Almost 3 million views this year. Very cool. I'd love to make that almost 3 million views a month instead. Not realistic right now, but we are currently at more subscribers than we've ever had on YouTube, so that's positive. No net losses or anything like that. Thousands of watch hours and whatnot. Here is what the top post of the year is. Do you want to guess?
I'm gonna say heel and face turns.
What's your guess, Callum?
Well, I guess it's that. I don't think there's anything else that I can think of that would generate that response from you.
It's the heel and face turn list. Far and above, too. Like, to put this into perspective, number 3 is WrestleMania predictions at 46.3 thousand views. Number 2 is the roster page at 101,000 views. Heel and face turn list is 224,000. There are more people clicking on the heel and face turn list than the WrestleMania predictions and the roster page, almost in double.
Jokes aside, people like resource lists.
But for some reason, that list in particular.
Yeah, because just in case, maybe somebody turned, or maybe I need to fantasy book who could possibly be the, top heel at WrestleMania. It's a worthwhile resource.
I don't get why you guys love it. I'm going to keep doing it, but I really want to hear some kind of explanation, because the only explanations I've ever heard has been, well, we like it. And I'm like, I don't know why. I mean, I think it's a decent enough list, but the overwhelming interest in it just still baffles me. It still pales in comparison, though, to the page, at least in particular, that has the most amount of clicks this year, which is the WWE pay-per-view schedule. It always is that. It always will be, it seems. That got 505,000. And that is still the overall top post of all time. Almost, at this point, 6.5 million views on that one. And that's why I keep that same page up every single year. So, we're going to roll things along 2022. That'll be the updated thing on there in a couple days. It is funny, though, that the top normal posts of all time, outside of like those static pages, 4 out of the top 5 are heel and face turn lists: 2019, 2020, 2018, and 2021. So 4 out of 5 of the top posts. And then I think it's like WrestleMania or Royal Rumble predictions one year or something. I forget. Top video of all time for this year. That's worded weird. Top video for watch time. That's what I should have there. WrestleMania 37 predictions. Makes sense. Biggest show of the year. Then the SummerSlam post show, which I'm surprised about because normally their predictions get more than the post shows.
No, I'm not.
You think it's the Becky Lynch thing?
Yeah, it was a very notable show. Like John Cena in the main event. I think it was a show that a lot of people tuned in for.
Number 3 for watch time was and then remember, this is watch time too. This isn't the views. So it's not like people clicked on it and they were like, oh, I just want to hear what they say. No, they wanted to hear what we had to say. So I'm really happy about that. The number 3 watch time video of the year was the set of releases with Braun Strowman, which that I get. That makes sense. That was one of those big kind of like what's going on type things. Then the Royal Rumble post show, and rounding out the top 5, and I'm very, very happy about this, but rounding out the top 5 for watch time is the all-time fantasy draft.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is.
So that's like, fuck yeah. We started off with an idea that we were going to do this, and the people that clicked on it watched, and they were hooked on it. So instead of it just being like, oh, I don't care, I'll just click to the end and find out who's got what roster or that kind of thing. I love that people were actually enjoying the discussion behind it, and the like, oh, fuck you, I wanted to pick that person and everything. That's really cool. Top video of the year for views. For some reason, the 2007 fan ounce table for Royal Rumble. I don't know.
It's a good Royal Rumble.
But new video for views this year was the Elimination Chamber post show. Not sure why.
Yeah. It's just random, I guess, sometimes. Just the way the algorithm works sometimes.
The Miz won the belt.
Oh, yeah. Probably waiting for my reaction. I don't think I was on that post show anyway because...
You weren't. I remember that now. Neither was I, actually. I was just Tony.
Huh. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody. Going over to the feedback stuff. Let's see what we got here. We switched it up a little bit. Instead of it just being who's your favorite host of the podcast this year, I decided to add the writers too, because, shout out to everybody who's been writing things up, whether they've been just participating in the triple threat or they've been crafting entire posts themselves, like Ross doing the cheap heat and cheap pop, or God, the amount of things that Dallas does. Dallas deserved to get tons and tons of clicks on that. Who is winning right now? Currently, let's see, no vote is winning. Is that the case? No vote. I like everyone the same, and I don't want to. Oh no, there's one more. So one more vote goes to me. I win. Look at that. Yeah. I never vote on this. So yeah.
No, I don't either. So
yeah,
Tony's got.
Yeah, you can't vote for yourself.
Nah.
Yeah, so Tony's got 6 votes at the moment. Or he's got the most, yeah. And then no vote is second behind because like everyone likes everyone, so they don't want to pick a favourite, which is fair enough. Then I'm behind that. And then Dallas has got a vote as well. So good on Dallas.
Yeah, so shout out to, it's a great group of people, so everybody should. The correct response is no vote.
Yeah, exactly.
That's one of the ones that I vote for. I always just vote for the no vote thing.
Yeah, the correct vote is no vote or me.
So then the best and the worst segment of the year. We had 3, if I'm correcting myself the right way. I think only 3 brand new things that we had created this year, which were the mix and match up on Play the Game and the audio edition of Play the Game, which that was fun. We did that for the Darkcast stuff because we kind of can't do it on YouTube just because it's audio. But we also had the combination of the switching things up with like the mock draft type thing. It's slightly the same as ideas that we've had before. It's kind of a combination of different things. So I don't know if you'd constituted a brand new thing, but the option what people chose for the worst is the one that I picked, and then two other ones that tied it. I went with TV ratings because I just hated doing them. I thought that they were a pain in the ass, and then I stopped doing them. So I totally understand that. But people also went with Claim to Fame and Darkcasts. And I think the reason why people went with Darkcasts is because they're just kind of upset that it's like a pay tier thing. But that's kind of the point. If people are supporting, I want to give them something extra. Claim to Fame, yeah, I'm not a big fan. I have that list up. I barely ever update it. I've thought about even deleting it, but it's up. So, I understand. Some other picks, though, that were given at least one vote here, Belt or Bury. There was only one for the whole year. I don't know why that's really super offensive. And that's going to go up at the beginning of the year, too. Call the Spot got a list. Not a list, a vote. Champsgiving got a vote. Cheap Pop and Cheap Heat got a vote. Current and Future Champions list. I don't know why that's particularly a problem. The awards, Paul Heyman SmackDown, Fan Announce Table, the roster rundown of the releases. It's not my fault people get released. There was a vote for Superstar Scores, Time Machine Dream Team, TV show coverage, Wednesday Night War, which no longer is a thing, Women's Wrestling Weekly, Wrestling is 2020, and the roster hierarchy. So I'm curious, if you voted for them, I want to know what made you pick those. Drop a comment if you can, or send an email if you don't want to be public about it. Yeah, I always go TV ratings, and I'm not going to do them this year, so it's not going to be an option for next year. What do you guys think is kind of the meh sort of deal?
I feel bad about the TV coverage. I wish that you could just make Smark an editorial place. You don't have to worry about what happened on Raw, what happened on SmackDown. So that's just kind of my thought.
It's always been a possibility. And who knows? I might pull that trigger.
I was disappointed that you don't update the heel and face turns regularly enough. I think you're really dropping the ball on that this year, Tony. Honestly, I think you really need to be. You kind of need to be on that page at all times, or because realistically, anyone could turn heel. Someone could turn heel even not on TV, and they could just
24/7.
Swore at the mailman or something, and that's a heel turn. So it's
Yeah, they blamed their server for getting their order wrong, and it's a heel turn.
I mean, my God, then you go on a honeymoon for 2 weeks, and you don't even update the heel and face turns. What the hell, guy?
Yeah, people are pissed about that. I'm relax, I'm gonna update it. It's gonna be okay. We'll get through this.
But outside of the TV ratings and TV show coverage, because at the end of the day, I just don't feel like they're super necessary at this point. Well, again, it could transition over to an editorial. If I was going for a serious one, probably something I don't know. There's not really anyone that I've super dislike. I've never really liked the concept of Belt and Bury as well. Belt or Bury, just I don't think it should be as black and white as that.
Well, one thing that you did get rid of this year, that was on my relaying of something Sean Ross Sapp said, was the section in the roster page that says who is most likely to get released.
Yeah, we kind of stopped on that because it just didn't seem like it was particularly nice,
And I will also add to that thing. I am. Even though it was fun for a while, and I feel like we've all now matured, I'm glad to see that this is the first year that the Sexy Superstar Tournament is no longer on these lists.
Wasn't it not last year? Or did we?
No, we did it last year. We did it as a Patreon exclusive.
That's right, yeah.
So now it is gone, and
I will say this. We've talked about it behind the scenes, but honestly, good move. We don't need to be doing that shit. And while we know we're just joking around.
Yeah, it's just it's a different era. And I mean, even if we're not necessarily trying to be mean-spirited or we're not trying to be whatever, it's the right call. So I know that plenty of people are probably just oh, you got to bring that back. It's not happening. Sorry.
Never coming back.
Yeah, it's gone. It's never coming back.
Right.
I'm sure other people will be able to satiate your needs on that front as well. So
I'm not stopping you from leaving your Yeah, I'm not stopping you from leaving your comments. I'm not going to be deleting those, but we're just not going to be doing that. We replaced it with the Heat of the Moment tournament. And the Heat of the Moment tournament, admittedly, it's not my favorite. It's going to kind of go through a little bit of growing pains. Maybe we'll sort out some kind of a concept, but that was the only idea I could think of. Maybe I'll change it up. I don't know. I still have my issues with the Champs Giving tournament because it seems like almost no matter what we go with, people still end up voting for things based off of just who they like and not necessarily who they like for whatever the goal is supposed to be. So I am still struggling to figure out how to get that to work. And
if people are going to do that for the American elections, they're not going to do it for. They're not going to change
true.
that for the Smark at Moment Award.
And it's so dumb that like some things can come down to like, I'm going to vote for this person because they've got like sandy blonde hair and that's more trustworthy than like dark black hair or something. You know, like it's just talk
Isn't
politics.
that the entire basis on Mandy Rose turning heel?
Yeah, is that it? Yeah, so I mean, there are things that like I'll be the first to admit, like if something's not working right, I'll crap on it. You know, I'm fucking flawed. So that's why I'm always doing these feedback things because I'm always just like, let me know. Maybe I'm not even seeing something that's a problem, and then I try to fix it. So that's why even something like the Belt or Bury is no longer the way that it used to be. Belt or Bury was in the past, let's take this person and let's discuss it. And let's say, are they worthy of a title or are they whatever? And what would you give them if whatever? These days, and it'll be posting on somewhere around the 1st. It's not going to be the 1st. I think I have it scheduled for like the 3rd or so. It's just, here's a list of AEW people. Here's a list of WWE people. Who do you think should win a title this year? And who do you think should be less likely to win a title? That kind of thing. Just to get a feel of who people really like. But then again, on the positive side of things, let's go with the best that was chosen here, best segment of the year. The ones that got one vote are the awards, the Call the Spot, Fantasy League, Hall of Lame, Heat of the Moment, Play the Game Audio Edition, Play the Game Superstar or Porn Star. I guess if you can't have the Sexy Superstars tournament, that's the closest thing to you. But see, that's still fun. We can still do that one because that's still, you know,
yeah.
When you get some of those names, you're like, man, I really don't fucking know. You know, there's of course a vote for the roster rundown. Oh wait, no, this was for the releases.
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, not a single person voted for the heel or face turn list.
Okay.
I think
people just like click on it, but it's like it's a resource for them. I guess maybe people just don't actually like or dislike it. They just feel like they have to be on it.
Maybe
like,
it's
a weird
a
thing,
compulsive thing.
Like social media. Like, no one actually likes social media, but
Yeah.
people just feel like they have to be on it at all times.
There's one vote for Sign Me Up. There's a vote for Superstar Scores, the Smark Madness Tournament, the Tier List, Triple Threat, Wrestling is 2020, the Hierarchy. The ones that had 2 votes were the Power Rankings. Shout out to Callum.
Yep.
The Hot Tags, the Mailbag, the Current and Future Champions Predictions List, the Champs Giving Tournament, surprisingly. You got 3 votes for Battle of the Brands. Shout out to Dallas for doing that every week. And then we got 3 of them had 5 votes. So these are in the runner-up position.
4 votes, so.
There's one that has 4?
Mount Rushmore.
Oh yeah, Mount Rushmore has 4. I thought that had a 5 one. So our top 5 for this are Mount Rushmore with the lower amount when it comes to that. The 2 pay-per-view point things, predictions and the review, post-show type stuff, the mock draft, and the fantasy booking. So I think that's kind of self-explanatory too. And I'm not
you like fantasy booking. I think I got that.
All that surprised. It's what stuff is the most interesting to our more loyal fan base at the very least, because there's not a ton of people responding on this. And of course, you're going to take something like, say, a hot tag of a bunch of releases is going to get a whole bunch of people that are clicking on it more, but they might not be the people that are sticking around. The people that are sticking around are the ones that are digging the fantasy booking Mount Rushmore mock draft type specials and the pay-per-view discussions, because pay-per-views are the biggest deals. I'm not surprised. And I went with something very similar. I had chosen fantasy booking, mock draft, Mount Rushmore. I think the other two that I had picked were mailbag and let me see. There's another one that I had picked for that. Actually, I might not have picked 5. I might have just picked those because I always enjoy the mailbag stuff too. But ultimately, this year, more than anything, I had the most fun with the mock draft fantasy booking stuff.
Yeah, that is fundamentally the most enjoyable stuff that we've done all year. Because I think we're all in a very similar boat at this point. I'm kind of sick of talking about what's currently happening in wrestling, particularly on the WWE front of things.
Yeah.
It's just all become a little bit of a miasma of depressing news and depressing stories, especially, again, from the WWE side of things. AEW I could talk about all day. But from WWE's perspective, it's completely drained me of all interest. I don't watch the products regularly anymore. I try and avoid it as much as possible. I keep up enough that I can bring a coherent opinion to the awards and to the pay-per-view predictions and post-shows and all the other stuff, and I'll still check all that stuff out. But yeah, for the most part, it's pretty bleh. So to go back and actually do something which is a bit more fantasy booking orientated, that's a bit more just like a mock draft where we get a little bit where it's fun competition. I think we have fun doing it, but it is still fairly competitive in that regard because we're all trying to pick the best things and stuff like that. Or the fun one we did with the worst, where it was just like a random choice. I have more ideas lined up for that. I've already spoken to these guys about it. I want to do these things at least every 2 months, maybe even a month if we decide that within a month we decide, okay, well, we could just like find a gap to do that as well. But I feel like we should do more of these things. I feel like they're the most fun. I feel like they've got room to grow in terms of just carry on stuff, whether it's the more fantasy booking stuff, like creating different cards out of the rosters we've currently drawn, or to just pit people against each other. I think we could do other fantasy booking scenarios as well. I feel like that's kind of where I'd like to see the general scope of a lot of the audio content going this year. This coming year.
The more we talk about it, the more I'm all in on the idea of just making Smart Count Movement more of a writers-based thing, an editorial-based thing, and less of the week-to-week stuff. We could still do like hot tags, sure, and pay-per-view stuff draws, so of course that. But like, I know covering Raw for a bunch of different sites is stressful for Tony, so maybe we just don't do it here and keep this for the fun.
Yeah, my eyes have been woken up a lot. I had referred to this as a make it or break it year. And in a lot of ways, I kind of go, all right, let's break some stuff. You know what I mean? So, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like we still have the hot tag. The hot tags has been the anchor of this. I don't mean that as a negative by any stretch of imagination, but it's been like the foundation of this podcast, and I feel like that needs to remain as like a consistent review of that stuff. And the same thing, the pay-per-view stuff is the bread and butter. You're going to do that regardless, and I feel like it's consistent and drawn stuff. But the rest of it is just something we can just have a play about with. I don't think we need to try and build stuff around, like try and tie it into news events or
right, unless it's like a death or something where it's like, okay, we can't not talk about this.
Yeah, it should be more just about like what have we always kind of wanted to do? Almost like just bringing ideas together. It's like what would we really find fun talking about, and just do it.
Yeah,
people that care about the podcast will want to listen to it because we'll be interested in talking about it.
Right,
and they're the people that we want to appeal to.
And I had seen something that suggested us getting to know us better.
Yeah, and there's let me see where it is on here. I think it's under the what is missing from Smack Talk you'd like to see us add in the future. Nothing comes to mind. Keep doing your thing. Love it. Somebody says Impact. Sorry, I'm not watching it.
No, yeah. Well, yeah. I'm vaguely watching it, but not enough to talk about it. There's nothing worth talking about from that, really.
Somebody says not applicable. Somebody says Wago. Yeah, if Wago was more available, he'd pop up here. The same thing for.
I'd love loads of the old crew to be popping up or stuff like that. Even though I love talking to these guys, I know this is the core. It's always nice having a bit more extended universe.
Yeah, I want to get more people involved in that. I want to get Caroline on more stuff. Like I
want Caroline on some stuff. Caroline's fun.
Absolutely.
Like you're fun, Tony, but Caroline is great.
Oh, she's so much more fun than I am.
And I'm trying to think, it would be cool to find some things where she can like, I don't know, feel like
provide
she can
an outsider perspective.
Yeah.
I would invite her to join in, but she's napping behind me right now. So.
Oh yeah, let her nap. But yeah, I'd like to see like. And it's all down to people's schedules and things like that. It's very difficult to bring everyone together. But when we got Payton and Drew back for that one little thing, that was fun. Like they were back for a short period. I'd like to get. I think Dallas deserves to get a chance to speak if he gets the opportunity. Because he does so much on the website.
I've told Dallas before. Yeah, like I want to get him on involved. I want to get Bodine on a podcast.
Bodine has to be involved in one of these.
I do want to. I've had it in my mind. I want to try to do something with it, but I had mentioned it before, like that I showed Caroline some stuff from Ultimate Warrior. I've been showing her some Jim Cornette stuff. Like, I do think if we can get some kind of stuff going of like the weirdest stuff in wrestling, I'd love to be able to record her reaction to watching some of those things as like special fan announce tables. I'm sure she'd be down for checking that out.
Oh yeah, I think that'd be awesome.
I thought about doing this for the Darkcast for this month. For anybody who's on the Darkcast tier on Patreon or on the members only stuff, I'm sorry that there hasn't been anything yet. I'm going to try to include a whole bunch for January, but literally it's been as insane of a schedule as I could possibly get with the moving stuff and the wedding stuff and the holidays and everything. But I had thought about doing this, and I don't know if anybody would actually be interested. So if you are on that tier, let me know. There's a clip of a home movie of mine where when I was a little kid and we did a little sketch for school based off of Undertaker versus Bret Hart. And I was like, maybe I'll have that set up on Plex and I might get these two guys and Caroline and the four of us can just watch it and do like a fan announce table of that. So that's for the person who had said something where fairly new listeners can get to know you more in your tastes in wrestling. Like if you are interested in more of like, just like behind the scenes type stuff and just getting to know us better, not only is the mailbag a great option for that, but let us know because we can do more things like that. And I don't know, show off some more like of our personalities and everything.
And I think we've stated several times now that we are all really close, and if you ever listen to any of the Darkcast or the Fanboys Darkcast especially, it's just us being friends and sometimes talking about life. Like, we've gotten into the weeds of certain things on some of these podcasts.
Yeah, if you're not on the Darkcast tier, I highly recommend it if you're interested in that, because a lot of times it'll just be like, I'll message Rob at like 2 a.m. and I'm like, yeah, you want to do it with our Darkcast? Because it's just sort of like, all right, well, we haven't done any in a while. Let's just talk about some nonsense. Or, I'd love to get more into, I still keep saying it. Every year I keep saying I want to bring back the All Talk show. And I just don't have the fucking time. But maybe this is the year I pull the trigger. And, you can see some of that stuff on Smark Moment. You can see some of that stuff on Fanboys. But, maybe we'll dedicate some more time to that too. Somebody also had said more AEW discussion. It's just the better show and brings out more positivity, even though I love the rants and complaining, especially from Callum. I also don't know if these things would be possible, but I think a live stream during the pay-per-view could be a fun thing to try out.
I have wanted to do that for a while. I think it'd be better for the NXT ones that are generally shorter.
It is.
Maybe we could try that one day.
It's difficult because I write 3 articles at the same time while I'm watching pay-per-views. So to be able to do a podcast on top of that would be a little hard. But I do want to do some kind of a live stream. It would have to be something that I'm not doing that amount of coverage for. But, writing for EWN, writing for Bleach Report, and for Smart Moment for pay-per-views, a little bit too hard. But I'm thinking more so on the AEW stuff. Like maybe if I wasn't already planning on doing it, the same type of stuff for Battle of the Belts, I think that could be a potentially good option for that. Maybe some other things too. And maybe I just decide down the line, fuck it, I'm not going to write up as much for Extreme Rules or something. And then, yeah, I do want to try to do that. The same person also suggests more opinion-based articles. Always want more of those. Love the mock drafts. Mock drafts. That's how words work. Love the mock drafts, so keep up with those. I hope a WWE AEW current roster one is on the horizon at some point. That'd be interesting. Where you got to pick between, the options of both rosters. So suddenly, Charlotte Flair might not be as high of a pick because there's now a whole section on top of that. Although, even though this is not something that should be added because it's already a segment, the hot tags this year was very good. Have thoroughly enjoyed those. Overall, I enjoy what I listen to on this channel. Keep up the great work. Thank you.
I don't know how, like, that's nice considering, that's usually just you and I in the dead of a Friday night ranting, but yeah, okay.
I kind of feel like more so this year than anything that there's been instances where I've been like, I don't know if I really want to do the hot tags. We're currently sitting in a time frame where I didn't do this past weeks because I was like, I'm gonna go to bed instead, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's Christmas.
Yeah,
I need to do that.
But I don't know. Maybe we'll get into some different things with that. Maybe even including with this other person's suggestion, which is a who owned the week, like the wrestler who dominated the headlines for better or worse. That might be something to make the hot tags a little bit more interesting. Kind of like, okay, who's your pick for like person of the week? Kind of like that idea. I'll try to keep that in mind. I like the idea that there was a question, is there anything on Smack Talk that we should get rid of? And it was just no, nothing, not applicable, no, that kind of thing. One person said there's some things that they don't like, but somebody else does, so that's okay. That's such a diplomatic way of looking at it. I wish more people looked at things like that. The world would be a lot better of a place. God, I'm out of it today. A lot better of a place if people approach things like that. Like, it's not for me, but if other people like it, cool. Somebody says possibly the Champs Giving tournament. I do like the concept, but I think it's just on the voting issue and people voting for their favorite guys and whatnot. Yeah, we addressed that earlier. Another person says, just never leave YouTube and go to Twitch.
Well, Rob's in the process.
I'm on Twitch, but I will never leave Smark at moment. And no shock here, we don't get paid doing this. Yeah. I just love working with these guys.
And I get absolutely pretty much nothing on this channel as it is. Pennies add up here and there. That's why I always plug the Patreon for anybody who's always just kind of like, oh my God, here he goes again. No, that's where the majority of that comes in. Like, and that's still not even enough.
And realistically, if you're consuming any kind of content in 2021, you should be used to people plugging Patreons and things of that nature.
Yeah, it's the way that we need to get by in this regard. The future, in a positive sense, is people paying others for what creators are putting out there, just going direct to creators rather than having to go through third parties, which will keep 50% of the money they're given to themselves. Admittedly, Patreon can be a bit like that sometimes, but that's kind of the best that we've got at this point in time.
Yeah, so if you do really, really enjoy what you got going on, even the dollar tier, I mentioned it here and there, but like, just to say it again, 4,000 plus subscribers on here. If everybody donated $1 a month, you'd be getting infinitely more content. Because suddenly then I'm like, hey, fuck having this time frame dedicated to that. I'm going to dedicate to that towards editing a different podcast and doing the podcast and whatever. And I'd be able to toss money towards these guys and other people to, suddenly I'm not doing coverage for other things anymore. And then I'm doing more fun podcasts instead, so consider it, keep that in mind. Some of the other people voting on the new segments that they would be interested. It seems like the most interest is towards Hold the Gold or Go for the Gold. I haven't decided which one I would go with, but it's how would you book this particular title reign for a superstar if you wanted to give them a belt? Number 2 option was the closing the book that we had talked about before, solving a wrestler's mystery and filling in the blanks on a dropped storyline. So it would be like, all right, let's sort out who tried to kill McMahon with McMahon's millions. Let's craft the story the way that we should have, and that kind of thing. Some interesting things like the snowball effect, talking about a moment in wrestling history and what spawned out of it. Turn the tables. Somebody gives you an idea, you have to switch it up and pitch a creative direction of something. So I don't know, the general idea of like, hey, your idea is you have to tell me what you would do for instead of Glenn Jacobs became fake Diesel stuck around and he became fake Shawn Michaels. I don't know. It's one of those kind of deals. Some discussions on fanboys, a lot of the same things that we've had before. People are like, if I'm not into the movie stuff, I'm not going to check out fanboys. Yeah, that kind of thing. A lot of no other feedback kind of things. Great website about wrestling. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you too, if you celebrate. Without you, I'd be dead. Thank you for everything. Thank you for a great friend. I don't know who said that, but greatly appreciate that kind of stuff too. I never...
You never know what to say there,
yeah.
right? Like,
that's a whole nother level of being thankful, and yeah. Somebody was mentioning about a call-in feature. I just don't know a means to do it. Otherwise, we would do it. But that's why I like the live chats. So keep in mind about the live chats for like the mailbags and stuff. Somebody says bring back the immediate reaction to title changes. Maybe create more tournaments. The title change thing is just a matter of I don't have the time. More tournaments. I'd like to do more. We definitely want to do a quick turnaround at some point this year.
That needs to happen. Because those are so much fun.
And somebody says, I listen to several podcasts while I work, various genres. Nothing that I look forward to more than Smark Out Moment. Y'all rock. You rock too.
That's so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, lots of positivity from the regulars and the people that are willing to actually fill out the feedback and stuff. Thank you to everybody who did do that. And more than ever, I'm going into the next year going, let's have some fun. Let's not look at this as this needs to succeed with this and that. I'm changing my viewpoint about some things, trying to get a better perspective of the pressure I put on myself. And I'm hoping to have more fun this year with everything. So if you have anything in mind that you want to have more fun with, you drop a line, you tell me, and we'll factor that in too, because I want you guys to have fun. That's the whole point. We're supposed to have fun here. Everybody's supposed to have fun. You listening, us doing it. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think. I think it's been an interesting year. Can't say it's 100% successful, but it's been interesting. There's been a lot of new developments which have been very good and very fun to dive into. I feel like it sets us up to be a bit more about what we kind of want to do in ourselves the following year. But I think just on a personal note, Tony's had a great year in the fact that he's now a married man. Like maybe that side of things now. I've had the best year for some things. I don't speak for you in that regards, but I know it's been a year of ups and downs, but yeah. That's been like at least from a personal highlight perspective, and it's great. It's like a very happy occasion and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, and that was, despite some massive negatives from this year, my biggest takeaway of the whole year, of course, is that, more than anything else, I'm like, I got her behind me, literally right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also want to say
she's
that
awake now. Talking about you, sweetie. Gushing about you on the podcast.
Nothing negative.
No, nothing negative.
Never.
We're only talking about how we want to get you on there more and how happy I am that I'm married to you now. I don't know if anybody heard her, but she said, oh, because she's still sleepy. So.
Yeah. But I always want to say Rob crushed this year in every single perspective, I feel, as well, because he's now it seems like he's growing into his role on the Fightful side of things, both on the writing side and as an on-screen personality. I feel like people are now more aware of him than they have been, which is a great thing because he's got a very, I would say, very delightful perspective on wrestling. And I say that in a sense of I don't always agree with what Rob says, and you hear me sometimes try and I'm like the negativity stick that beats him repeatedly on this show in that regard. Like
Callum's the
trying to
negativity stick, Wiggins.
yeah, new gimmick for 2022. But he still has, even though I feel like a lot of 2020 and 2021 has beaten a lot of joy of wrestling, especially towards WWE, out of him. He still tries to find the positivity. He still tries. He's the most positive aspect of this entire free unit. I feel
by
like.
far, yeah.
And he continues to bring that forward, that like ray of optimism that we kind of need to keep us grounded, because otherwise, well, I don't want to speak for you, Tony, but I probably would have quit not doing this because this is fun, but like quit just watching wrestling in general, or I just would stick to AEW and say like, oh yeah, just WWE stuff's happening. What the why the fuck is Big E champion now or something like that? It's just like that, with that kind of attitude.
Praise the Ryan Popola, Byron Saxton of our crew for sure.
Oh yeah. Rob will, I've no doubt, go from strength to strength in 2022. He's a big deal, and he's becoming a bigger deal in wrestling now, and that's kind of the best thing I think that's come out of our collective unit together.
First of all, that was very kind of you. Thank you. Second of all, I tell Tony every other day that every good thing I have in life is because of Tony. And Tony's helped me with so much. And not only just this kind of stuff, but just in my personal life. And I'm just ever grateful for him. And Callum is the most well-prepared, put-together person I've ever worked with. And I work with a lot of people. And I would love to see him break out as well. But for what you said about me, I thank you so much, because I really do love wrestling, and I'm trying. And 2021 had some bumps, but I'm definitely going to try harder in 2022.
Some bumps, good pro wrestling term for that, right?
Yeah.
And I want to definitely shout out both of these guys and some others too. I'll get around to them, but like, you know, with the amount of things going on this year and how hectic and crazy not just pro wrestling is, but just life in general from the pandemic, and then you figure 2 weddings and everything going on, and some losses along the way and everything like that. Obviously, these 2 guys have been anchors to keep me sane on top of that. And the time frame that I took off for, well, you know, long overdue for me to take some time off to not be working constantly. These guys held down the fort in an even better way than I was expecting, which was like I already expected them to be able to knock that out of the park. But just really proving how great they are in all those aspects. And you got like pushing not just the website, but me in general to, you know, keep me on track about some different things, about just like, you know, perspective. Sometimes it's a matter of picking me up when I'm beating myself down, or, you know, also being like, hey, well, you know what, this isn't working right, and kind of steering in the right direction and everything. So you don't get to see that as much on the podcast, but that stuff happens behind the scenes too. And having fun on the podcast, of course, is always a primary goal. And when you got these 2 guys, you're going to have fun. Even if we're talking about stuff that we don't really like, we're going to end up having fun together. And doing more of the fun things like the mock drafts and stuff just further proves we got a great dynamic going on. Their contributions are invaluable. I can't talk enough about that. I wish that we didn't have this weird, stupid pandemic thing going on, and I wish that these 2 guys would have been able to come for the wedding, because another huge highlight for this year for me, as far as just like by proxy work type stuff, is I had seen Peyton before. We met up a couple different times on some different things. So we went to WrestleMania with a bunch of people together. He's been to different convention stuff and whatever, but finally got Drew and Kaylin and Peyton and I all in the same room together. Callum was able to come out for the wedding. Drew was able to come out for the wedding, and meeting those guys in person, of course, that's a major highlight for that kind of stuff. And Jody as well. But, you know, when you're doing a podcast and you're just kind of bitching and complaining and, you know, praising the good stuff and giving predictions and everything like that, the biggest takeaways that you can get are the interpersonal stuff. And so when people say things that like they really enjoy listening to smack talk, and they really love the website because it's like they're getting friends out of it, or they're, killing time at work and that they're really looking forward to it. I mean, shit, I can look at the statistics as much as I want, and I can look at like the numbers, and I can be like, this is only earning pennies for this video or whatever. If it wasn't for that stuff, I wouldn't still be doing it, because it certainly wouldn't be for the money types of stuff, So even though I really always push the Patreon and everything, shit, at the end of the day, that stuff matters more. So I thank not only all the people that aren't on this podcast, but the people that are on this podcast, people that are listening, Callum and Rob, you, whoever you are listening to this right now, except for Barry. Barry didn't really do all that much this year. Fucking
yeah,
elephant.
the hell, Barry?
He never got out of that fucking corner.
Yeah,
he just stayed there.
Fat ass. But no, thank you to Callum and Rob. Thank you to, of course, Caroline, who is looking at her phone and now she's all like, what? Thank you to everyone. I don't know. I don't want to go
you got
too deep into it
this year. This is the year that you did get a sponsorship for the podcast, which is rad.
Thank you to Manscaped for that too. Yeah, for believing in the brand and wanting to take part in this. We've talked about them. I'm not going to give them a full breakdown here, but yeah, we promote them not just because there is a sponsorship, but because they've been cool to us and they've got great stuff. Pick up stuff. Manscaped.com/Smark. There you go. Random ad in the middle of this. But that was really cool. That was one of the highlights of this year for sure. Yeah.
Hopefully much more to look forward to in 2022.
I'm hoping that that's the case. Yeah. I don't believe in the calendar switches and suddenly, it's January 1st and everybody magically turns into a different person and they all kick their smoking habits and lose weight and start hiking up mountains and that kind of weird shit that people seem like they think that they do. But I do think, and at least for one day of the year more than any, it seems like everybody kind of has this collective breath of fresh air and they go, maybe. And I'm going to go into 2022 for the first time as a married man and with a lot of positives that I'm taking into there. And I hope that by the end of 2022, we're talking about all these great things that we didn't even see coming. And it's partially on you guys for listening. Keep listening. Keep us sane. Keep the feedback coming. We'll keep giving you as much as we can. Any other last thoughts you guys got?
No, that was very well said. It's been a great year, and I look forward to 2022.
Yep, want to just ride the positive momentum out of 2021 and carry it forward, and hopefully have that be the prevailing thing throughout 2022.
Alrighty, everyone. That is it for our year in review and our recaps and our awards and the best and the worst of this kind of stuff. Thank you for joining us for everything here. We will be back for the one to watch, but it's not going to be the next thing for the first time in God knows how many years at this point that we've been doing that, because we do have a pay-per-view coming up. The end of the week, we're switching over to WWE Day 1. So the next video that you'll be checking out on here, the next podcast, whatever you're listening us on, is going to be the predictions, which is also going to be combined with the hot tags. We're just going to essentially run down everything that's been happening over the past week or so, and also our predictions on what's going to happen with Day 1. We're probably going to record that on Thursday, I'm thinking, and that'll be up as soon as we get done doing that. And then on Saturday night, we've got WWE Day 1. We'll have switched over the calendar. We'll be on that whole refreshing new thing, and hopefully there's a big refresh with WWE and that pay-per-view kicks some ass. Either way, positive or negative, we will break it down in the post-show, so stay tuned for that. If you are not subscribed to the YouTube channel, do that and ring that little notification bell, because then you'll be alerted on an email when we go live for it. It usually ends around like that 10:45, 11 mark, so that's probably when we're going to be on there, but it might be a little bit different. I don't know. We'll see. We don't even know if WWE knows, because they keep changing things, and because of the outbreak stuff, they might not know anything until Saturday. But we will break it down in whatever fashion that we do on that, and then we will get into the one to watch for AEW and for WWE for this next year. Then we'll start breaking down the other things that we've got for the plans, which currently there's not plans set in stone for a lot of this, because we do want to kind of play around with some other stuff But after that, currently the game plan is mailbag for quarter one. We're going to try to do some sort of Mount Rushmore of Royal Rumble competitors. We might do something about crowning a Mr. Royal Rumble. We might do the fantasy all-time Royal Rumble based off of the mock draft roster. Of course, we got Royal Rumble coming up after that, so we're going to do that. February is all blank right now because we don't know what's happening, except for that the Smark Madness tournament will begin at some point at the end of February. We got blank stuff in March. We'll do the Wrestling with the Past to talk about the Hall of Fame and maybe get into another episode of Hall of Lame. We'll do the WrestleMania 38 stuff. We'll talk about all the other pay-per-views throughout the year. I'm looking at a list of mostly blanks, and we'll go week to week and we'll sort out what we want to do and what you guys want us to do. But next up is that WWE Day 1 stuff. Stay tuned for that, everybody. Thank you again for listening to this. Hit that like button, drop your comments, and we will see you next time. But for now, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.